on splash screen, right?
Right.
Good afternoon. Good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Conway. Welcome. I'm the president of the Montgomery County Women's Democratic Club, and welcome to our annual meeting. It's my pleasure to call the meeting to order. Tonight, we're going to have a quick business meeting to elect our next executive committee to lead WDC for the next 2 years. And following that, of course, tonight we will hear from our special guest, the terrific and dazzling Congressman Jamie Raskin. So let me get through some announcements. We'll get right to the election and then to our wonderful program. So a little bit about WDC. That's Kristen Clark right there on the right. She is now the head of civil rights at DOJ. The point is this organization attracts talented speakers among its members, its board, and its featured speakers. A lot of talent around. For over 60 years, we've been helping Montgomery County's savvy women and men get connected and informed and engaged in policy and politics. If we haven't already pulled you in deeper, I'm asking, today's my last official day. These are my waning hours of power. So I am formally asking you to take a look at our committees and think about joining any of these. We know that you have skills and passion out there and you can contribute even more to our work. So come on out, give it a try. No obligation and very satisfying work. I want to thank my current board of amazing women who've worked with me. This is the executive committee. My predecessor, Fran Rothstein, our first vice president, Leslie Milano, second VP is Laura Stewart, third Vice President, Joanne Corvos, our Treasurer, Mary Lou Fox, and our Secretary, Martha Morris, who makes us famous for posterity. So really, ladies, thank you very much. This is hard to do on Zoom, but I hope everybody out there will dance around in a circle or wave your hands or put something in the chat to congratulate these women. It is well done, hard work, and especially in these challenging times. We've had some excellent recent events. For 2 years through COVID and through the comorbidity known as Trump, we've hosted several dozen speakers and panels on critical issues of the day, not least among them criminal justice. There's another page of speakers, just the most recent, and most of these are still available on our YouTube channel. You can go back and watch any of them. And for our next event, we've decided that we are overdue for a party. So we're going to have a party in September for all members, and we urge you to make sure your membership is current. We ask you to just pencil in the idea of a party sometime in September. It will be in person, hopefully outdoors if the weather allows. And it'll be a festive regrouping. So we are also working on 3 forums that are going to come in March and April, and that'll be forum for the governor's race, one for the county executive, and one for the state's attorney. So those will be in March and April of this year to help get people ready for the June primary, and it's literally only a year away. So now I'd like to get to the formal portion of our annual meeting, which is the election. So to present our nominees for the 6-member WDC Executive Committee, please welcome the chair of our nominating committee. That's board member Lisa Henderson, who is going to present the slate and lead the vote and hand back the mic after that. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Diana. Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank the nominating committee that put this slate together. Leslie Milano, Martha Morris, Marilyn Balcom, and Eden Durbin. Thank you for your time and commitment in putting together this amazing and exciting slate of women. Every 2 years, WDC elects a new executive committee for the board of directors. And the 6 offices are President Leslie Milano, First Vice President Laura Stewart, Second Vice President Lorna Ford, Third Vice President Joanne Corvos, Secretary Martha Morris, and Treasurer Mary Lou Fox. Our nominating committee convened and proposed this slate of candidates, which was unanimously endorsed by the board and has been posted and circulated. And I hope you had a chance to look at these impressive bios of these very exciting women. So now we will hold the election. What I'd like to do for Zoom is for everyone who is in favor of this board of 6 officers to raise your hand if you are in favor. If you want to nominate from the floor, put that in the chat, please. Otherwise, raise your hand. Either physically raise your hand, or I see the Zoom hand raise is awesome. I'm going to go through these screens. Please keep your hands raised. If you're raising them manually, please keep your hands raised until I can look through all of the screens. Okay, this is awesome. All right. I see all hands raised. This is fantastic. Screen after screen of raised hands. All right, and there we go. So by the majority of shown hands that are raised, I move that the slate of women presented to you occupy the 6 offices of the WDC board for the 2021 through 2023 cycle, and those women be deemed as elected. May I get a second to that motion?
Second from Diana Conway.
Awesome. And may I get a third?
Third from Barbara Zelenko.
Fantastic. Then am left to say congratulations to the new executive committee. Congratulations to the committee.
Okay, thank you, Lisa, for running the nominating process, and to all our nominating committee members. I know it's tough to choose, it's tough to get people to run sometimes, it's tough to put all the pieces together. So we're grateful to our nominating committee and to our nominees for taking up this mantle. We do important work here, but it is work, and these are women who step forward to lead. So I thank you, and I think everybody joins me in doing that. It is now my pleasure to propose that we adjourn this annual meeting. So I would ask for a motion from the floor to adjourn. I see Leslie's got her hand raised, Leslie Milano, okay. And may I have a second? Barbara Zelenko, great, thank you, Barbara. Okay, so now we're getting somewhere. Now I'm going to quickly recognize our elected officials and our candidates out there in Zoom land. So these people are still coming in. So if we miss somebody, please put your name in the chat and we'll make sure to mention you. We have Delegate Jared Solomon. We have Delegate Sarah Love. We have State Treasurer Nancy Kopp. We have Delegate Charlotte Crutchfield, School Board of Education President Brenda Wolf. I see Joan Kleinman here for Chris Van Hollen. Catherine Scott is here on behalf of Tom Perez, who's running for governor and actually was a guest a couple months ago. So you can see him on our Zoom YouTube if you're interested in that. Marcy Frosch is here for our Attorney General Brian Frosch, and Marley Pasternak is here for Senator Ben Cardin. Natalie Fani Gonzalez is here. She's a candidate for County Council District 4. Brooke Learman is represented. I'm not seeing the name, but she's running for comptroller of the state. And I think I've seen everybody, right? Sorry, forgive me for paging through. Okay, so with that, I would ask any additional people that I missed. I would first apologize. I'm on a single screen, so my chat box is very small. And please put your names in the chat and we will absolutely come back and circle around to you. So thank you all to the candidates and to the electeds in office now for putting yourselves out there for public service. Oh,
Diana.
somebody needs to go on mute.
Diana,
Yes?
it's Jamie Raskin. I just have a
Oh, you're
special
here.
guest I wanted to break in to say hello to everybody because I know you guys love her. This is Katie Porter.
Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to talk
Hi.
to you. Thank you for
Hi.
all your advocacy and hard work, and for delivering us the amazing Jimmy Raskin to Congress. And just wanted to say hi to you. And as you know, a fellow woman, a fellow mom, a fellow Democrat, I just want to say thank you for being part of this fight.
How wonderful is that?
Terrific. You always run in good company.
Sorry for interrupting, Diana.
No, you're fine. So I'm delighted to see that you're always surrounding yourself with great women. Let me just run through a couple more things here. This is a reminder that you're being muted, that you have been muted, and this is being recorded. But we do want your questions, so please go to the bottom of your screen click on the chat and then select Q&A as one of the participants in the chat and put your question in there. You're welcome to put any kind of comments you want in the chat, but in terms of questions, if you want them to get to me, I need to come through Q&A, please. Okay, so these are my last hours as president. I have a few things to say, but I promise to be quick because I'm not the point here. I need to thank my entire board. It has been truly humbling to be able to rely on these women and their energy, their responsiveness, their willingness to take another phone call, do another Zoom, have another meeting. And it's 2 years of hard work. It's a lot of time. Not all of it is joyful, but it's all very satisfying in the long run. So we've had a lot of humor, a lot of time, a lot of patience, and I'm very proud of WDC's achievements. It's been a tough few years to advocate and organize, but we did persist. And even in the face of Trump, we put on a tremendous show. We put on great speakers. We coordinated with other groups at the county and state level on not only criminal justice, but education, public safety, paid leave, against synthetic turf, and to repeal the racist state song. We supported an early voting center at White Oak, a low income and largely minority or immigrant community that was shamefully turned back by the Republican dominated Board of Elections. We co-sponsored key forums on ballot initiatives that changed the structure of our local government and county council. And in the spirit of small d democracy, we have been all in to support enabling legislation for the campaign public finance laws. So important to getting the pernicious effect of money out of our politics. So when these finance programs are available, as they are at our county level for the county council and county executive, take a look when you're reviewing your candidates at who's opting in to this democratizing influence that is available. So I would urge you to take a look at that in addition to the other factors you consider. And I think it's a big deal. We do this work through our board, but also especially through you, our members, and our community, because like you, we know there's a lot at stake. Voting rights, abortion, the right to drive while Black, the right to carry weapons without a permit or without training, targeting transgender individuals, banning requirements for face masks, targeting demonstrators by creating civil and criminal protection for people who run their cars into demonstrations. And of course, it's trust in public institutions, in government, in elections, in doctors, in science, and the nature of truth, and who gets to define reality. So I want to close with two short sentences and then quickly introduce Jamie. The first one is, whatever you allow, what you tolerate is what will continue. And the second is, make time for what matters most. I first met my congressman when he was a state senator representing District 20. I think it was 2009 or 10, Jamie, and he was at his AU office where he was teaching constitutional law. I'd been advised to, quote, ask Jamie about effectively advocating in Annapolis. He has long been the indispensable man on huge issues because, as he has said, his ambition is not to be in the political center, but to be in the moral center. I love that line. He was a certified rock star at American University College of Law, teaching constitutional law for more than a quarter century, where he co-founded the Marshall Brennan Constitutional Literacy Project. We need a few more of those, please. In the state Senate, he was central to the assault weapons ban, marriage equality, abolishing the death penalty, raising the minimum wage, always reaching across the aisle to cajole and convince and construct real progress for real people. And in Congress, there was even more action. My personal favorite was watching my congressman be chief sponsor for a bill to establish a congressional oversight commission with authority to declare that the president was incapacitated and removed from office under the 25th Amendment. In 3 years, he built a magnificent program called Democracy Summer, expanding now to 35 different House districts to train more than 500 student organizers. But his most indispensable has been never clearer than when he led the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump. He stood as a barrier to a surreal drive for tyranny and autocracy, complete with fake news about normal tourist days, and led to a 57-43 vote to convict the president for incitement of insurrection. It's not just that he's smart. A lot of people are smart. It's that he's smart and has a sense of responsibility that he takes seriously. Fareed Zakaria said recently, American diplomacy is back, but American democracy may not be. Well, we shall see. So my money is on my congressmen, my fellow WDC activists, and my country. So please join me in welcoming my congressman, my friend, my model of civic and professional integrity and leadership, Congressman Jamie Raskin.
Oh, Diana, thank you for that beautiful, stirring message. And I don't think I deserve it, but I will work to deserve it in your honor and in your example. Your presidency of the Women's Democratic Club has been extraordinary and dazzling through the most difficult and arduous of times. And you are somebody who just constantly rises to the occasion of whatever is necessary to move our party, our county, our state, our country forward. So I am so grateful to you for your kind words, and so grateful to you for your amazing leadership. And I wanted to say it because I don't come to parties empty-handed. In honor of Diana, I brought $1,000 for the Women's Democratic Club. And in honor of Leslie Milano, I brought another $1,000. So I'm making a $2,000 contribution to my sisters in struggle, the people who've been with me from the very beginning, and who have been so good and so wonderful to me through hard times, you know? So thank you, everybody.
I'm floored that you're making a contribution to us, because we were planning to make one to the Tommy Raskin Fund, and I didn't know if you wanted to start there. I don't know if Sarah was going to join us, or
I'm not sure if Sarah.
Okay.
I'm not
That's
sure
okay.
if she's at home or on the road.
Sure,
She might be
that's
going
okay.
to see her mom. So I'm not
Understood.
sure. I'll find
Okay,
out.
that's okay. So I think everybody knows about the tragedy that your family suffered with the loss of your son just 6 months ago. And yet another act of generosity from you and your beautiful family is to turn your deep and personal tragedy into a tool for education and inspiration and tolerance and understanding. So as we've been discussing with you and your family, we have created an annual speaker series built on the values most important to Tommy. And we are making a $1,000 donation to the Tommy Raskin Memorial Fund for people and animals. So I'm both grateful for your gift to us and sort of feeling like, well, no, wait a minute.
No, that's beautiful. And that means so much to us. And that fund that we started now has more than $1 million in it, Diana, from people all over Maryland and all over the region and the country and the world. Tommy's advocacy for human rights and animal welfare has really brought him to the attention of thousands and thousands of people. So the fund that you're describing, we set up immediately after we lost Tombo, and his sisters, Hannah and Tabitha, are running it, and his cousins are running it. And so it's a new generation thing. And so thank you for that. And but we're just delighted to support Women's Democratic Club, which is just at the heart of our politics. And the only thing I wanted to make sure is that my talk tonight does not justify being part of the new Tommy Raskin series, because That's for people who are going to give a serious lecture, who've spent weeks working on a speech. And I had about a half an hour today where I
No,
sketched out my
that's fine.
remarks.
Actually, we've put together a brief video that Scott's gonna, the
Nice.
indefatigable Scott Weber is gonna put up now, Scott?
And thank you, Scott, for doing that.
Yeah. So I'll just do a quick voiceover. The speaker series that we're putting together is specifically focused around Tommy's compassion for the poor, for animals, and for the difficulty of being a human. So I just want to thank you for sharing yet another experience with the public and benefiting us even as you face this difficulty. So thank you.
I
And at this,
appreciate that, Diana. I couldn't have gotten through this without the people who are in your audience, although I can't see them right now. I'm on the wrong view. I'm on
That's okay.
speaker view, not the grid view, which I can't seem to find. But the people, my friends, my beloved friends in Democratic politics got me and Sarah and the whole family through it, and are still getting us through it. Because you know what? I mean, we're not the only people suffering. I mean, we lost 600,000 people to COVID-19. We lose 85 or 90,000 a year to opioids, and there's a huge mental and emotional health crisis among the young people now.
Yeah.
So the suicide rate has spiked. It's just terrible. So when we're fighting for America, we're not just fighting for like a different set of policies in some abstract way. We're fighting for a different direction for our country and our communities. And Donald Trump took us down an extremely dark road. He kicked off his administration with that cryptic, haunting phrase, American carnage. And then he demonstrated it to us at the end of the administration on January 6th. I mean, he unleashed American carnage on us, and that's the destination of that kind of right-wing authoritarianism. So
I'm sorry to jump in one more time. I think Scott's got the video up. I just want to give everybody the chance to see the work and to. There we go.
All the darkness in the world can't extinguish the light with just one candle.
Great. Thank you, Scott. And thank
oh,
you
that's beautiful.
collaborating with the Raskin family, and to you guys for taking time to.
Oh, well, Scott did that whole thing. So thank you very much. That's beautiful, and it will mean a lot to everybody. Our family will treasure that and treasure the annual appearance of the Tommy Bloom Raskin speaker. So that's great. And I can't think of a more touching or fitting tribute from my friends in WDC. So thank you.
Oh, terrific. I think we're ready to pivot to your political Capitol Hill report.
Good.
I guess the first question that came in from a bunch of people is, given your exemplary role in the second impeachment, are you going to be part of the January 6th?
Well, the
Commission.
answer is I don't know. I've been working, Diana, I think you know this, on a book about Tommy and about what happened on January 6th. Tabitha, our youngest, was with me that day, and my son-in-law, Hank, who had recently eloped with our older daughter, Hannah, was also with me that day. So that became a family affair in a pretty intense way. And then, of course, from there, I went right into the impeachment trial as the lead impeachment manager. And so I decided to write a book about the experience, to try to make some kind of sense of what had happened to us. And if not, I figured I'd spend the rest of my life just obsessed with it. So at least, while everything's fresh in my mind and the feelings are fresh, to write a book. So I'm about to finish the book, and I feel like I've been kind of drowning in January 6th. On the other hand, we haven't gotten to the truth remotely yet. I mean, I think we know who incited it, because we had concurrent, bipartisan, bicameral majorities declaring that Donald Trump incited it. Now, he didn't win an acquittal. We didn't convict him because of the 67 vote threshold in the Senate, the 2/3 requirement. He beat the constitutional spread. But I think that those majorities in both houses established as a constitutional fact that he had done it. But he sort of benefited from a hung jury. But in any event, that was just about incitement. The real question is who organized it and who mobilized all those people to come. And it had a military style regimentation to it. Who put all that together? That stuff doesn't happen spontaneously at a rally or demonstration. I mean, you look what it took to organize the Women's March on Washington. I mean, it took weeks and weeks of organization and planning, and that wasn't even a military operation. That's the difference between our side and theirs. A lot of people on our side thought Donald Trump stole the election in 2016 with Vladimir Putin and his cyber invasion of the DNC and Hillary Clinton campaign. But nobody said, let's have a political coup. Let's storm the Capitol. Let's get some people killed. Everybody went out and, knit pink caps and joined Amnesty International and the Women's Democratic Club and do the most good, So whereas they decided, okay, now is their big chance to raise an army against the Constitution and the Congress and the country. So the answer to the question is, I don't know. I've preferred not to, but I told the speaker if she needed me and she really wanted me to do it, I would do it, because I think I probably know more about it than anybody else at this point, and so I can understand, why they might want me to be on it. It's always just working out chemistry. I mean, what I pushed with her when we created the team of impeachment managers is, don't do it one by one. Create a team of people who work really well together. And I think that showed when we got together. Most of us there knew each other from the Judiciary Committee. Others were people that we worked with in different ways. Stacey Plaskett, of course, was my student at WCL. And I just said, this is a team of people that is always going to put the case first, the cause first, not any kind of ego thing. And that's the main thing you don't want, is people using it for an ego right. So I just said, I said to the speaker, I said, if you want me, great, but I gave her a list of lots of other people I thought would be terrific.
Good. I can imagine you feel like you're drowning in January 6th. A related question, I like this quote, and I think it was in the Atlantic, but I can't remember who wrote it. Republicans learned the wrong lesson from Donald Trump's defeat. Instead of retooling their ideas and cleaning up their act to win the hearts and minds of voters, they're doubling down on a strategy of voter suppression and partisan gerrymandering. I guess my question to you is, how much, can you give us an out loud assessment of how much do they actually believe and how much do they know this is all bullshit, but they're doing it because they want their jobs. They just want to be reelected and not trashed by a former president.
Okay, first, let me just agree with the premise, which is the agenda is disenfranchisement and voter suppression. There are 375 bills across the country. 24 have already been passed, including the one in Georgia signed into law, stating that it is now a crime, a misdemeanor crime punishable by up to a year in jail to pass a bottle of water or a chocolate chip cookie to somebody waiting online to vote. That's criminal activity now in Georgia. So that is their agenda. I mean, 2020 was an extraordinary year for a lot of reasons, but one of them was that it was the first year in American history when a major political party did not pass a platform, did not adopt a platform. They went to the Republican convention, they spent 2 days on it, they came out and they said, nah, we're not going to do it. So what's their platform? Very simple. Whatever Donald Trump says it is. You know, he wakes up and he says, the dictator of North Korea or the dictator of Russia is our best friend, and they're our best friend. Wakes up and he says, we're going to nuclear war against them. That's what we're doing. And I've seen it, Diana, I've seen it in Congress where they will turn on a dime based on what Donald Trump says. You know, so so I guess, you know.
I mean, you know, there's falling for people, like almost falling in love, and then there's just deciding, well, this balloon's going up and I want to grab onto it.
I think at this point, the cognitive dissonance is too much. This has been going on for years. So there may have been a point where they said, well, you know what, I don't really think he's doing the right thing, but I'm going to go along with it. I'm going to be a good team player. I'm going to be a good Republican. And then it's, well, I'm a little afraid he could support my opponent. I want to get his money. He'll max out to my campaign if I stick with him and so on. And then at a certain point, you're so saturated in it, it's just who you are. I mean, somebody like Jim Jordan, who I actually thought there was like a live intelligence there, I was so wrong about. I mean, he's just completely gone over to the side of devilry, you know, and a lot of them are like that. Now, on the other hand, I've got 10 new friends, like impeachment Republicans, like who were constitutional patriots. And even though I disagree with Liz Cheney about 98% of the stuff, and I'm sure everybody in the club would, still, she's not willing to lie about, you know, Donald Trump winning the election. She's not willing to lie and say Joe Biden didn't win. I mean, Joe Biden, it wasn't even close. He beat him by more than 7 million votes, 306 to 232 in the Electoral College. And they continue to propound that big lie.
Yeah. What have been the consequences for Liz Cheney?
Well, of course, she was ousted as the chair of the House Republican Conference. She's a pariah. John Katko's a pariah. He's the one who came up with the Republican position on having an independent, bipartisan outside commission like the 9/11 Commission to investigate January 6th. And McCarthy told him, the only way we go with it is if it's 5 Republicans and 5 Democrats, equal subpoena power on both sides. And he got that. We gave that to them. And they still opposed it. And Mitch McConnell walked around on the Senate floor and said, as a personal favor, I want you to vote no on this. And so they blocked it. They killed it. So today, we just passed the House Select Committee, which will not be 50-50. They have already rejected that. It will be 8-5, except I believe Speaker Pelosi is likely to use one of her 8 for a Republican, you know, for one of the sane Republicans who's not, you know, selling flowers and incense at Dulles Airport for their religious cult leader, you know. So if one Republican gets appointed that way, it'll be 7-6, but there'll be one Republican who will not be, you know, staying up all night listening to tapes of Donald Trump's speeches. You know.
Well, what is it about? I mean, we're seeing courage at the state level of state Republicans. Yeah, I mean, Georgia was first, I think, right? When he was, and where was it? He wanted 11,000 votes. So that was Georgia, right?
That was Georgia with Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, who's Republican.
Yeah.
Well, so what's so interesting about that is you're right. A lot of the people who stood up to him were Republicans. He pretty much only went to Republicans. He didn't try to browbeat Democratic election officials into just concocting votes. In other words, committing criminal election fraud. But he did try it on the Republicans. And Raffensperger said, I'm a lifelong Republican. I maxed out to Trump's campaign. My wife maxed out to Trump's campaign, and they threw us under the bus. And then they started getting all these death threats. They got one death threat. His wife got a message on her phone saying, "We're going to line you all up for a firing squad." I mean, where do they get the idea they would do that? Well, where did they get the idea that they're going to hang the vice president of the United States,
Right.
the president that they love's guy? Well, it comes from Donald Trump, because who else would authorize that? They would never go after Trump's number 2 if it weren't coming from Donald Trump.
Right. Yeah. Different question. What is going to be the next step, if any, for HR1 S1, the For the People Act? I mean,
Well, Manchin has kind of played out his strategy. He, I guess, wanted to pull a rabbit out of a hat and say, well, I'm ditching HR1 or 50% of the stuff that's in there. I'm going to have this slimmed down version. But he threw in a lot of stuff in there that I don't know that a lot of Democrats would have supported in the end, like a universal voter ID. I mean, maybe if we got the other stuff we wanted, like overthrowing the gerrymandering and having independent redistricting commissions. But I don't know where we go now, because what we need is for 50 Democrats, which means Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, to decide to go with the group and vote en bloc with 50 plus 1, Vice President Kamala Harris, to pass whatever plan we've got. I mean, whatever we can agree to with Manchin and Sinema, that would become at least the Senate Democratic plan. We have HR1 on the outside. We would have some kind of conference or something, and we would do it. But that's the only way to overthrow the filibuster. It's a profoundly anti-democratic instrument. Obviously, it's been used against the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, anti-lynching, but it's inconsistent with the Constitution. The baseline premise of the Constitution is that when a legislative body votes, it votes on a majority basis. If there's a departure from that, like you need 2/3 to override a veto, or you need 2/3 to ratify a treaty, or you need 2/3 to convict a president in the Senate, it specifies it. But what the filibuster does is it creates a new rule. You need 60% to pass legislation. Instead of 51 votes, you need 60 votes to do it. I mean, already, and that intensifies a popular vote disproportion we've got. One of the things I learned when I was an impeachment manager over on the Senate side is that there are 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans. The Democrats represent 45 million more people than the Republicans.
Yeah. Another question was the big lie and the legality of putting out false information. And I know Rudy Giuliani was just stripped of his law license because the court found it was just, absurd argument saying that it was, conceivable that what he was saying was not absolute bullshit. So are there any other tools that can be used to sort of legally shut people up who are doing this? I know the voting machine companies have sued for libel.
Yes. There's civil
tools
lawsuits by Dominion,
Right.
which really was damaged to the point of hundreds of millions of dollars. And these people, you know what some of their defenses are when they sue people like Giuliani? Their defense is, no one could have taken me seriously.
Yes.
That in other words, it was not a false statement of fact. There could be bar license repercussions for lawyers who knowingly brought fraudulent cases and made factual misrepresentations. But look, the real thing is there were 62 cases in federal and state court, all the way from the lowest circuit court and district courts in the land, all the way up to the Supreme Court, and everybody rejected them. There was no fraud, there was no corruption, there was no chaos that affected the outcome. The only electoral fraud, and we don't say this enough, and I hope our members will start to this, the only election fraud were the ones that were attempted by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And every once in a while you see a case of somebody who actually did. There was a man who murdered his wife and then voted for Donald Trump for her and defended it, saying he knew that's who she wanted after he killed her. So I've got that one in my office.
Right? Yes.
Right. But it's important for us to keep talking about the big lie, because that's the basis of everything, including what happened on January 6th, both the parliamentary strategy and then the coercive strategy against Pence to try to get him to declare that Georgia and Arizona and Pennsylvania's electors would be rejected. They wanted him to announce a power that had never been exercised before, which doesn't exist, which is the power of the VP to reject electors. At that point, it would have lowered Biden's total below 270 and then kicked it into a contingent election in the House of Representatives under the 12th Amendment. And you say, well, why would they want it to be in the House with Pelosi and the liberals in control? Because we don't vote one member, one vote in the House in a contingent election. We vote one state, one vote. And they had 27 states. We were this close to having that happen.
Wow.
Mike Pence, in his most honorable, courageous day on earth, refused to give into a strategy that would have orchestrated and effectuated a political coup. And he was probably, this is one of the things I would like to find out from the commission, the select committee, whether or not I'm on it, is Michael Flynn and his military coterie around him were calling for the imposition of martial law. So I think that right after they declared him president in a contingent election, he was going to declare martial law to put down the chaos and the insurrection, which he had unleashed against us. And he would have gotten to be the dictator, at least for a while, that he always wanted to be. But I think we need to nail that down.
Yeah, there are a lot of questions coming in about sort of legality issues. One piece of it that I'd like to hear you opine on is the decision by Bill Barr to come out late, but somewhat loudly, saying it was all bullshit. I think it was, that too was in the Atlantic or New Republic.
It's the first time that Barr has told the truth about Donald Trump, in memory. And he was defending all of the BS for years, literally. And so I understand the way that people want to salvage their reputation at the end, but it doesn't move me much. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I mean, it's one thing if you stand up at the beginning, as some people did, or even midway, like Michael Cohen did, but to wait to, I don't know, when he said that, I mean, it was like a week or two before our trial. I think he could read the writing on the wall that, look, we convicted Donald Trump in the eyes of history and in the eyes of public opinion. And he is a pariah in the country, make no mistake of it. I mean, he has consolidated his control over the GOP like a cult leader, but he will destroy that party. And what we have to do is to try to save the civilized remnants of the Republican Party, help them. The way you would help a friend who got into a religious cult is to help with the deprogramming and the transition back to civil life.
What do you see from the Lincoln Project these days? They've sort of gone quiet, right?
Yeah, but I've kind of lost track of them. I know that there were some sex scandals or something going on there at the end of it, but so I don't know.
I'm just trying to think who's going to lead that piece. They've kicked out Liz Cheney. Mitt Romney can only do so much. The Lincoln Project had a pretty good following, although I gather it was mostly among our crowd.
I mean, I'm for a Democratic Party that's big enough to absorb those people. I really am. I mean, I don't know if Sarah has gotten on, but her brother was a Republican for a long time. And then when Trump first ran, we talked a lot about it, and I began to help move him. He just couldn't take it, just kind of the derangement and the meanness and the extremism. He's a really very smart, very thoughtful business guy. We've got to have room for people like that in our party. He's not a racist. He's not a sexist.
But we don't want a single party country, right?
Well, it doesn't have to be the Republican Party. Another party can come along.
Not this Republican Party.
Yeah, I don't think we need that Republican Party. But no, and look, hey, I've sometimes been a pariah in my own party because I always stand up for the rights of new parties to form. Like in Annapolis, we have a crazy law in Maryland. It's like if I want to run for the state Senate, I need one signature, my own. But if I want in the Democratic Party, but if I wanted to run as an independent or a libertarian, I think I need like 17,000 signatures with everybody's address and email and phone number and ward and precinct. And I mean, yesterday was my brother's birthday. We tried to get him a card and we tried to get like 15 people to sign it. And it took like 9 days and still half of the people hadn't signed it. So, it's kind of a fool's errand to put people on. So I do think we need to open up the political system, and competition's good. It's good in economics, it's good in politics, it's good in
Didn't you
sports.
Didn't you represent Ross Perot when
I
maybe he
represented
was
Perot successfully when he got excluded from the presidential debates.
Right. right?
And, you know, the Clinton people were happy, I think, that we did it because, you know, Perot probably ended up hurting the Republicans, but he was a wild card player and it could have gone in any direction. But
Right.
the bottom line was he had gotten 17% of the vote in the prior
Right.
election. And you get federal funding at 5%. So he met the only federal statutory definition of seriousness that there was. And, you know, and I told Perot when I met him just one time, I said, I've got two categories of clients that I do in my legal career. I've got pro bono and I've got pro bono, and you're going to pay for all of my other clients for all times.
Here's a somewhat different question. What can Democrats do to support the National Popular Vote Compact, given the fact that we're not going to get the Electoral College eliminated by constitutional amendment, even though it's inherently undemocratic?
Well, this is a great question. And it's one of the things I'm writing about in my book. I don't know who asked that question. I appreciate that.
All I see is that it came from my Q&A center, but
Cool. Well, thank
I
you,
can
Q&A
find out.
Center. But look, I mean, but we know that the Electoral College means that the wrong person wins a lot. It happened in 2000 with Bush and Gore. Gore beat him by 600,000 votes, but Bush still won by torturing out the most dubious victory in Florida. Happened in 2016. Hillary beat Trump by 3.5 million votes. He tortured out the most dubious victory with the help of Vladimir Putin and Cambridge Analytica and so on. So that's one problem. A second problem is the vast majority of the country looks on as spectators from the sidelines in the general election, because most of us live in blue states or red states where it's perfectly obvious who's going to win. So the whole election comes down to 7 or 8 states. Everybody knows it's, you know, it's Michigan, it's Ohio, it's Pennsylvania, it's Florida, you know, a couple more, but that's it. And that's just a totally irrational way to do it. And the only reason those are the swing states is because they happen to have relatively equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans. I want an election where every vote counts, where the candidates and campaigns have to compete in every state, in every district, and every vote counts equally. And check it out, this radical idea, whoever gets the most votes wins, right? So, but now on top of all those arguments, which I've made in books and articles and so on, we've got this, which is the Electoral College process is now so creaky and filled with cobwebs and booby traps that the GOP has found more ways, as we saw on January 6th, to try to intervene, to use coercive strategies and violent strategies to steal the election. So it's just too dangerous. We can't have the Electoral College. So thank you for raising it. You're right. We're not going to be able to get the GOP to support it for a constitutional amendment. So we got to get back to the National Popular Vote, Interstate Compact Plan. It was the very first bill I introduced as a state senator in Annapolis. We now have 16 states, or maybe it's 17 states, that have signed on to it. We're almost 2/3 of the way there in terms of the number of electors that we need in the coalition to activate it. But the problem is that, like everything else, it's become partisan, and the Republican states are holding it up.
I'm told that Peggy Dennis, my neighbor and then president of my civic association when I met her, is the person behind that question.
Thank you, Peggy Dennis.
Peggy. Next question is, what can we do to make sure that future administrations don't ignore subpoenas?
Well, for one thing is, and we did this today, and this is legislation that I worked on and I had a hand in, we've got to strengthen the IGs, the inspectors general. And those inspectors general are going to be able to get a lot of information out. So if you end up with an obstreperous and contumacious, which is an old-fashioned word I learned when Trump was in contempt all the time, a contumacious president, one who's in contempt, we can get the info from the IGs. So we could get around him. But I mean, it's a problem. Donald
Yeah.
Trump, he pushes every constitutional rule and norm and separation of powers principle to the max,
Right.
which is why we had to impeach him twice.
Yeah.
And he's still out there. We're not done with him yet. He's still out there. So I don't know. Basically, everybody is going to have to be vigilant until we get through this nightmare. Please tell everybody in your families and all of your friends. I mean, I wish I could say we took care of everything we needed in 2020 and we can let the great Joe Biden and the great Kamala Harris take us through, but it's not like that. I mean, we need all hands on deck. They're controlling 21 states completely for gerrymandering, including Florida, Texas, North Carolina, and Georgia. Those 4 states is 96 seats alone. We only have 7 states that we control. Maryland is one of them. And so we're not going to be able to make up that ground against them. And of course, we're not able to move HR1 because they've got another choke point with their filibuster. So here we are, the majority party representing the vast majority of the American people. They're the minority party, they're the shrinking party, but they control every anti-democratic lever of control. The voter suppression, the disenfranchisement, the filibuster, right-wing judicial activism in the courts that they've packed over the last 4 years, and the gerrymandering of our elections. So it's a scary situation. We're fighting both for the rights of the people and the right of the majority to rule.
I would add to your contumacious also another adjective that fits our former president, contemptible. I think it's the same root.
The same root, yes.
Yeah, literally the same rotten root. The next question is on the sort of the environment and science. The laws being passed are not keeping up with the laws of nature and science. Talk about what kind of path forward you see.
Well, I mean, this is the most tragic dimension of the democracy deficit we've got in the political deadlock we're in, because maybe we could all sweat it out like the women in Gilead in Handmaid's Tale over the next several years, but the earth is dying. I had a conversation with my colleague Suzanne Bonamici from Oregon today. It was 116 degrees yesterday in Oregon. 116 degrees. So how can you do it? I mean, how are people going to be able to live and survive if our brains were bigger and we weren't dealing with a neo-fascist authoritarian party on our right? We would be working full time on putting together every exciting innovation, creative project to confront climate change, scientific, political, community, state, local, federal. That's all we should be doing.
Right.
It is a civilizational emergency that we're in. And you know what? We can barely even talk about it because they have us so blockaded in Congress. But we're going to keep it on the agenda. We're going to move our infrastructure plan, and the progressives and the Progressive Caucus are going to guarantee that it is a plan that advances our green priorities, our environmental priorities. And that's not going to be anywhere near up to where we need to go, but it's going to move us in the right direction.
Good. In terms of heat, I will take a final personal privilege and point out that on a synthetic turf field, it's 40 to 60 degrees hotter on a warm, sunny day, and it's hotter than asphalt.
Well, I'll take a point of personal privilege on the heat too, and say what they say on Capitol Hill, which is it's not the heat, it's the stupidity.
The concern here is that a lot of secretaries of state are being disempowered by their state legislatures in terms of vote counting and relating to elections. Is there anything that can be done at the federal level? Do you see that sort of as a blip that's going away?
Well, I mean, it brings us right back to HR1 and to S1, and what can we do? We're running out of time, literally. I mean, all of this stuff has to be done by August or September at the latest, because the legislatures are going to start to draw those districts and they're going to start to put those laws into place. So somehow Joe Manchin is going to have to get some democratic religion. And remember, that's what our party is about. We are literally the party of democracy right now. Literally the party of democracy. The GOP is now a political party that has positioned itself outside of the constitutional order, and it's making war against the constitutional order in order to consolidate and accumulate its own power. And then when they get in, as you saw, it's just a money-making operation, literally for the president and his family and his friends, and then for the wealthiest people who can help to protect them. I mean, how scary a situation is it for us to be in this in 2021? You know?
Yeah, yeah. More scary situation questions here. North Dakota Governor Christie is sending the North Dakota National Guard to the Mexican border with funds from a Tennessee nonprofit funded by a Republican mega donor. How can this mercenary army be stopped? I was not familiar with that. Is that something you know about?
It's something I know about. I mean, it could only be stopped right now as if it's ultra virus, if it's outside of North Dakota state law. And I don't know. I will check on that and, see, with our friends in North Dakota, if anything can be done there. But other than that, well, I've done some hearings about these, about abuse of the militia power and also of, right-wing independent militias, the kind that came and attacked us. And we are going to be trying to do some federal legislation on making sure that well-organized militias are well-organized militias and not tools of violent white nationalists and racists. But of course, I hate I'm such a broken record on this. It does come back to the filibuster because, McConnell has declared that their one paramount overriding objective is to thwart everything that Biden is doing and everything the Democrats are passing. And we've seen that movie before. That's what he said. The minute Obama got sworn in, our goal is to defeat everything that Obama did. And, the racism and the contempt of the Republican Party now permeates the entire political culture on that side of the aisle. What they felt for Obama is now what they feel for all of us.
Thoughts on the Virginia election or other local elections? And what did you think of the ranked choice voting in the New York mayoral election?
I wasn't able to catch the news today, Diana, and I will feel terrible if people blame the mess ups on ranked choice voting, because I think the snafu had absolutely nothing to do with ranked choice voting. It had to do with a prior bureaucratic or administrative error.
I guess
I have a
question.
candidate in that race, Maya Wiley, who I grew up with, who's a wonderful woman. I think she's the only one who may have had a fighting shot to win other than Eric Adams, who seemed pretty good to me too. But
And then what do you think about the concept or the philosophy in general for ranked choice voting?
Well, ranked choice voting is amazing because what it says is that, if you've got a race that's split up with 8 or 10 or 12 candidates, and those of us in Montgomery County know what races like that are like, where you have tons of people running, the person who wins is the person who gets a majority. So you can't win with 24% of the vote or 19% of the vote. I mean, I have a colleague from Massachusetts who won an election. It was a very vigorously contested election to replace Joe Kennedy. And he got, I can't remember how much, but like 19% of the vote. And he was sort of the most conservative candidate in the race. And then there were 4 progressive women bunched up right behind him.
Yeah.
With like 17, 16, 15, 14, 13. Well, if there'd been ranked choice voting, maybe he would have won, but I doubt it, because generally the second choice or the third choice for all of those progressives would have been another progressive. So I just think it makes more sense as a way to assemble majorities, and it also dramatically reduces negative politics.
Yeah.
Because now, instead of trying to attack my opponent and tear them down to try to maybe peel off some voters, it's, you love Diana Conway, I love Diana Conway too, and she should be your number 1, but I could be your number 2, or that's the logic of it. I'm not sure all the candidates in New York understood that. They were sort of stuck in the old psychology of, I've got to blast the other person, which is not the way that you do it under ranked choice voting. You build coalitions. Some of them did get it, I think, and we're trying to, campaign together.
Crime-related question that actually intersects with an article I just saw. Can police reform survive the increase in crime rate? What messaging is going on within the Congress in terms of reforming police, criminal justice reform, and on the other hand, facing what seems to be a pretty real change in, raise in crime limit?
Yeah, one final note on ranked choice voting, which is I am the lead sponsor of the bill to make it a nationwide thing in federal elections, just so you know, for those of you interested in RCV. Well, look, on the criminal justice reform, I mean, I think that the attitude of people in the Democratic caucus, none of whom has ever embraced defund the police. Not a single Democrat in Congress has said defund the police. So that's just, right-wing propaganda.
Right.
But I think our attitude has been, we must reform the police. We want to have the body cameras, and we want to have the dashboard cameras, and we want to remove basically the absolute immunity or the qualified immunity that officers and police forces have. I mean, we can make those changes at the same time that we're improving our police forces and diversifying our police forces and giving them the funds that they need. I mean, the police officers on January 6th saved my life. They saved the life of my daughter. And the ones that I know from the 8th district are Black cops.
Right.
And Hispanic cops, not all of them. I guess I know one or two were white as well. But they were out there battling a racist, insurrectionary, neo-Confederate mob for 4 or 5 hours.
Right.
So nobody's going to get me to run around talking about defund the police. I want to invest in those people.
Right.
And I want police forces that are going to be responsive to our communities.
Right.
Now, they were outmanned and outgunned that day by the Confederates in a brutal way, and we need to get to the bottom of what exactly happened. But the bottom line is they worked their hearts out for us.
Yes.
Those people are my heroes. Officer Dunn, I'm about to, Julie, remind me, I've got to send out a tweet tonight with Officer Dunn and Officer Michael Fanone. I took pictures with them, the officer who died,
Sicknick.
Officer Sicknick. I mean, I was going to say was killed. I mean, he died after having been attacked the next day. Officer Sicknick's mom was there. All of these people. I mean, they're like real heroes. And I wish I could play for you what they were saying today. They say that the Democrats are the only ones who really care about the officers and what we went through on that day. We're the only ones who really care about what it means to be a working class person, which is what cops are.
Right.
So I would just say, like, we don't need anti-cop rhetoric. If there are killer cops on the loose, let's get rid of them. Let's prosecute them. Let's get them off the forces. We need a nationwide database for dirty, racist cops. And I've led with my friend Ayanna Presley an investigation in our subcommittee on civil rights and civil liberties into places where the white supremacists have been trying to organize cops in the military. So we've got to counteract that. But right now, what we need is diverse, working class support for the officers, not just in the Capitol Police and the MPD and the Guard, but across the country. And that's what our politics should be.
Yeah. I know you needed to jump, but I want to have me thank you, and then also have Leslie just speak for a second before you have to run. You're always you're always amazing. We're always happy to hear from you. You always have something exciting and interesting to say. You always maintain good humor and a sunny disposition, even beside a little bit of outrage there. And it's just great fun to see and to hear. So my personal gratitude is just flowing out toward you. And if you could hang on just a second, I'm going to ask Leslie to take over the mic. Our new, you're no longer nominee, you are now Madam President.
Hello, Leslie Milano.
Hi, Jamie. Thanks so much for coming. I just have a couple quick things to say. It always feels like a masterclass in democracy when we have you come to speak. So thank you so much. You have made WDC members a priority since the beginning, and we're just so grateful for your leadership. Your deep analysis of the issues, the way you distill multiple complex concepts down to actionable steps, and the way that you don't shy away from hard topics for fear of losing more conservative supporters is really true leadership. Your voice on the Hill on a national stage is unparalleled, and watching you in action is like watching history in the making. So it's just our pleasure seeing the world embrace our Congress member who is so beloved in his very own district. So thank you again, Jamie, for inspiring us with your words and empowering us to make a difference. Looking
Well,
forward to
Leslie,
working with you.
thank you. That is so meaningful to me, and congratulations. You inherit or you were elected to a great position, and it's a remarkable legacy. When I ran for Congress back in 2016, I was endorsed. Fran will tell me by how many, but I
All
think
the
it was like
living members, all the living presidents,
all the living
former presidents.
former presidents. It was the most mind-blowing thing in the world, and how could I lose? So you enter a really sensational pantheon and legacy there, and I'm always there for WDC, and we're making progress for the families of America, and I hope everybody knows, and the club is helping to educate people about the child tax credit. $300 a month refundable tax credit if you've got, for each kid who's under 6 years old, $250 for 6 to 12, and we got to let people know this is a great democratic accomplishment. Every Republican voted against it. We're cutting child poverty in half by doing this, So Leslie, thank you. Diana, thank you for your extraordinary work. Fran, all the other former presidents out there, sending you all my love. And thank you guys for being with me through some hard times, okay? And Sarah and I send you our love and our gratitude. And thanks for naming the Tommy Raskin Speaker Series. We will treasure that forever. And I know Hannah and Tabitha are really psyched to work with you guys. Thank you, Carol Brand, another former president, all the former presidents here.
Two-time former president.
Two-time.
So Leslie, up to you.
Thank you so much. And Jamie, if you want to stay, feel free. I know you had to run, so we wanted to.
I got to go.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
I wish I could stay all night. Love you guys. All best.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jamie. So yes, before we move to the next part, just a few words about Diana, even though that will probably make Diana uncomfortable because it's off script. She doesn't like going off script, but want to just say a couple of words about Diana. She has done such a phenomenal job for the past 2 years as president. She really has. And if you look at the earlier chat, you will see that as well. Diana's leadership brought increased visibility for WDC within the county and the state. She's built bridges and partnerships. She knows Maryland's political landscape like few people do, and her work ethic is really unmatched. She's delivered testimony for the past 2 years, and you may have heard her. She's done a lot of work in Annapolis, here in Montgomery County, on topics that affect women and children. And her board of directors, this is really important, her board of directors really believes in her. She's brilliant, she's kind, and every email or text is laced with her sharp wit, which makes it fun. So she's put in countless hours as the WDC president, and those shoes cannot be filled, not just because they're probably a size 12, but she has been a mentor to me in all seriousness. She has been phenomenal, and I'm really grateful for her friendship. So the board has a gift for Diana, and Fran Rothstein, our immediate past president, will deliver that now, sort of, because Diana's in California.
Well, if you were, sorry. If this were normal, shoot. Wait. Oh my goodness.
Uh-oh, hope that didn't fall.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Go on, do something else.
Okay, so we have.
All right, here I am.
Okay.
If this were normal times, we would give this to you, Diana, and say, please open it in public. But it's not normal times. It is a gift we hope you will enjoy for years and years and years. And it is engraved with Diana E. Conway, President, Women's Democratic Club, 2019 to 2021. And I will say, Leslie, them's big shoes, but you can do it.
Thank you, Fran.
And I hope you recognize this box, everybody.
Oh, Diana, you're muted. I think you're muted.
Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you for those really, really very kind words, Leslie. And Fran, I can't wait to open it. I know you and I are having lunch in about a week, and that'll be good fun. That'll be good fun. I'm very, very grateful. So please, Leslie, go ahead.
So thanks so much. I just have a couple of things that I want to go over quickly. I just want to lay out a little bit of a vision for the next 2 years. So, WDC is a membership organization, and it's the members that give us our strength and our voice. Each member here is an ambassador for WDC. We are people who have elected, who helped to fund Democrats in office, who phone banged, who door knocked to elect Democrats, who stood in solidarity with Black and brown people for racial justice, who brought convincing arguments to family and friends for voting for Dems, and in many ways helped change the path of the US when we helped to oust Donald Trump from the White House. So these right here on the Zoom, these are powerful people here in the Zoom. So this is not news to you. I'm just going to talk for about 3 minutes. There's not news to you at the moment. There's not, as Jamie had mentioned, there's not really a Republican Party as we have known it in many years. It's the Democrats versus Trumpism. And although we have a reprieve from his nasty tweets and these self-aggrandizing clips that we see played on TV so many times, Trumpism is still very alive and growing. And that is something that we need to take very seriously. And you've seen it on Facebook, there are mass disinformation campaigns that are spreading like wildfire, and they're not really going away. There's still a commitment by otherwise functional, sane Republicans to this big lie. And the most frightening thing of all is that the takeover of the Republican Party by Trump supporters has been absolutely horrific. We know that those Republicans will not speak up against him unless they are literally dying or leaving office. Those are the only 2 reasons that we have seen Republicans really stand up against him. And so that's really problematic for us. They care more about their own job security and the power their position brings than they do about these traditional Republican values that they wear on their sleeves. Every day for 4 years, we've braced ourselves and asked how much more could we lose? Diversity, unity, integrity, tolerance, all of these ideals for our country were challenged and mocked and disregarded. For 4 years, we braced ourselves, unsure how much further we would fall. We saw environmentalism setback, immigration setback, LGBTQ rights setback. We saw racial justice in those 4 years set far back. Financial health for our country, relationships with our allies and friends, and women's rights, very importantly, and women's place at the table in those 4 years set far back. So what does that mean for us? Over the next 2 years, we will have Democrats in the White House, and we need a Democratic Maryland governor once again. We need to help swing states elect more Democrats with our strong, convincing voices, the ones right here on this Zoom. We need to do our part, and WDC will do our part in educating voters. We are going to hold educational forums in the spring, gubernatorial, county executive, state's attorney. These are going to be really important. And we will continue to be a powerhouse Democratic advocacy organization in Montgomery County, working side by side with our partners on substantive legislation as we did this year. We're going to grow our membership past our previous high numbers and drive towards diversity, equity, and inclusion as we welcome new members. And we're going to also drive towards diverse voices on our own board of directors. We'll continue bringing nationally recognized speakers to you and community forums to discuss important issues, local and state, and federal as well. And in both of those settings, we're going to give members a way to interact and have their voices heard. So how do we get there? And that's what we're asking of you today. We have a new executive leadership team, and we want you to also recommit to joining us in a very engaged way. Help us to be active in the community. Help us by being active participants in our state, in our democracy, not just for us, but for generations to come. So there's homework. After you get off this Zoom, tell 2, maybe 3 friends that you heard Jamie Raskin speak, how amazing he was, and that you want them to help, that you want them to join WDC as well. We are only as strong as our numbers and our members, and it's really important for us. So thanks so much for attending our annual meeting. We have a couple of slides we want to show you just about upcoming things. And then if you'd like to stay on and talk, please do. And if not, then have a great night. Looking forward to working with all of you. We have an in-person party for our members. Make sure your membership is current. That's going to be really exciting for us. And we have the Tommy Rasky Memorial Fund for people and animals, as we had mentioned earlier on the call here. So the Raskin family has created the Tommy Rasky Memorial Fund, and the family will be distributing money raised on a semi-annual basis to those causes that were dear to Tommy's heart. And our membership drive. So please, 1 or 2 people, I'm going to do it as well. So I know a couple of people who I think their membership have lapsed, including my husband. And guess what? They're going to be members by the end of this week. So hopefully you'll be able to do that as well. And thanks for joining us. And you know, this was recorded, and all of our recordings are available on our YouTube channel. So thanks so much, everyone. Thank you so much to Diana Conway for her work over the last 2 years, for Fran Rothstein, our immediate past president, who is leaving our board, many other folks who are leaving the board as well. Our past board was phenomenal. We're so excited that you've done work with us for so long. And we're welcoming our new board coming in. Congratulations to all those who are elected tonight. And looking forward to being with you again very soon. Thanks again. Have a great night.
Well done, Leslie. Thanks. If everybody wants to unmute yourselves, we thought it would just be fun to let people, the closest thing we've got to a cocktail party.
Yay!
All righty. Terrific.
Great job.
I think I might get up and dance around the
Great
desk.
job.
Yeah, really. Let's just do this. It's too hot. So hot.
Well, it's pouring rain in Florida, I can tell you that. But I'm
Oh,
on my
no.
way to Maryland.
Yay.
Linda Coco in the house.
Yes.
I'm
Just
out
got
here in
into the
California,
day's
and it's
in Gainesville with my dog. Woohoo!
oh,
Ah. Wait, Fran,
To
are you in
Maryland, and
California?
all I'm drinking is water.
Who's in California right now?
I am.
Who said they were in California? Diana?
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco. I'm in Keyfield, just across the bay from San Francisco,
wow.
and it's 72 degrees. I'm out here for my sister's 60th birthday. They've got a beautiful home with
Yay.
amazing plants, and everything grows here.
So
Wow.
wait, where are you specifically?
In Kentfield,
Oh,
in Marin
okay.
County.
Yeah.
Beautiful
Oh
place.
my God, Marin County. Mm,
Yeah.
love it. Bring a little bit back.
Well,
Well done,
yeah,
everybody.
so-
I thought that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
great
I have a
meeting.
tribute for Diana and Leslie.
It's
That
such a
sounds
great
like
conversation.
That was 3
Looking-
years.
That sounds like an English Bobby whistle. Maybe we're under
You know
arrest.
what it says? It says,
What?
all aboard the Lunatic Express. Those of you who know what the Lunatic Express is.
Uh-oh. Well, yeah, what do you expect? We got Lynn there.
So,
I was gonna
I don't,
Sorry.
go ahead.
I was gonna say it was great.
If we don't hurry up, hurry up and have these in-person meetings, you guys are going to go totally off.
We already are.
I'm-
We already are.
Yeah, I'm definitely almost there. Jeez.
Well, maybe we can have a happy hour this summer. What do you think?
Yes, that'd be great. I'm
We
ready.
can toast. Yeah, that would be great.
That would be
I was
fun.
going to say, it was so awesome to have Katie Porter pop in. Oh my
I
God.
know.
Oh, that was fun.
Oh.
That was really fun.
It's like
We had a
having Paul
fundraiser with her.
McCartney or one of the Beatles.
Susan, he had a fundraiser with her right before.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Perfect.
Um,
I thought it was a great
So cool.
conversation, Diana.
It was.
It
It
was
was really
it was fun,
good.
and I talked you know, to his office beforehand and sort of said, well, you know, what would it, how about if it's more of a conversation than a speech? And
Mhm.
so the good questions always come in. I had a couple, and it's fun to sit there and talk to Jamie at length, uninterrupted. It was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's one of the perks of the job.
Yeah, and we're so lucky to have him. I mean, I get emails from
Absolutely.
friends all over the country. They're just like, wait a minute, that's your congressman? And he's really not my congressman, but he is my congressman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents are jealous.
Well, I'm
Well,
jealous
we
here
do
in
have
Florida.
three great congressmen
Yeah.
in different
We-
ways.
We
in
really do,
Montgomery
Fran.
County.
You're right.
Agree.
Well, you have excellent senators. Come to Florida where you got Rick Scott, the worst. You know, just
Jeez.
almost the worst. And then we got
Linda,
Salazar. We had
We're
a great
counting on you, Linda. Get them out.
Yeah.
I know.
Isn't
we
Val
are
Demings?
working
Your
on-
job,
we're working
Linda.
Yeah,
Isn't
Val
Val
Demings.
Demings running down there?
Right. Yep.
She is.
We got a
Yeah.
lot to do,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm a Florida resident, but I'll be seeing you all after July 4th anyway.
You have to
good.
wait.
I
Awesome.
can't
That'd be
wait for
great.
your September party. That's wonderful. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
hey Tracy, hey Tracy.
Yep, we're having it
Yeah.
at my house, and we're ready for a party.
Maybe
Well,
grab
that'll
some-
be fun. Yes,
Yeah.
your house is the best.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll be
well,
there. I gotta go get some takeout Chinese food. I drove.
I'm looking forward to it. All right.
Good to see you guys.
Bye,
Anyway, this
Coco.
was
Bye, Linda.
wonderful. Super
I don't know if
chocolate.
everybody
So
knows that Linda was the president before Fran.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right. That was a
Yes,
while ago.
I
and-
couldn't have done anything without her.
And Linda, the Nats, I don't know if you all were watching my face, but the Nats won tonight and your guy was amazing.
Daniel, my nephew,
Oh my
Daniel
God.
Coco, yes.
Yeah, so I'm a huge Nats fan, as I think some of you are. And we
Yes,
killed
we
it.
are.
And Dan kept popping in, and I'm looking at Linda Coco on here. Yeah, I need to meet
great.
him. I need to
He's
meet
very happy guy. You know, that's
him.
so
He
he's
does
doing-
seem to
he's a
be
great
very
guy.
happy. Yeah.
He's a great guy. Alrighty, I gotta run. My dog.
Okay. Well done, everybody.
Well
All right.
done,
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Congress Leslie.
Take care.
I don't know how to get off.
So much, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.
Have a great time out there, Diana.
All right, friends, it's a wrap. Good night, everyone.
Thank you so much, Scott. Again, and Mary Lou, thank you so much.
It's part of a family. Good night now.